Today, we're cracking open a file that's, well, it's right at the top of the danger list. SCP-008. You've probably heard it called the zombie plague prion. Our mission, really, is to get past the scary name and the high classification. We want to understand the biology here, what makes it tick, and how the protocols try to contain something that feels almost apocalyptic.
And high classification is almost an understatement. Seriously, this isn't just some nasty bug.
Right.
You need level 4 clearance just to look at the file. It's object class Euclid, which, means it's unpredictable, needs constant watching.
Always tricky, Euclid.
Yeah, but the real label that makes you sit up straight. Class V, biological, hazard.
Class V, okay.
Right.
That sounds like maximum danger level. What does that actually mean in terms of how they view SCP-008?
It means they think if this thing gets out, like really gets out, it's game over. Potentially unrecoverable for, well, everyone.
Wow.
That Class V label dictates everything. The whole containment approach is basically scorched earth if it fails, preemptive destruction.
Okay, let's dig into that. Preemptive destruction. Normally, even with dangerous stuff, there's some kind of backup plan, right? An evacuation strategy.
Nope. That's the chilling part. The source material is crystal clear. There is no exit strategy plan for the G2 sites holding this.
None.
None. The whole idea is if containment fails, the only acceptable next step is total irreversible destruction of the site. Incineration, irradiation, the works. Wiped off the map.
So what triggers that? What constitutes failure when the response is that drastic?
The triggers are specific. Any political or military action that even threatens the site's security. A sustained power failure counts.
Okay, those make sense, I guess.
But here's the one that really gets you. Just 8 hours of total communication silence. 8 hours. From inside the facility, from outside channels, doesn't matter. If it goes quiet for 8 hours.
They assume the worst and hit the button.
Pretty much. They consider it compromised beyond any hope of recovery.
And you said, no evacuation procedure. That's explicitly forbidden.
Strictly mandated. G2 sites are not to prepare for evacuation. The design philosophy is fail-safe, but in a defensive way. If containment is breached, the protocol demands they trigger the destruction measures.
What about the people inside, the operatives?
They're considered secondary. They already face a mandatory 4-month quarantine if they do leave normally because of the risk. But in a breach scenario, global safety trumps everything.
That is incredibly stark. Sets the stakes extremely high. All right, let's shift from the rules to the agent itself. SCP-008. Biologically, what is it?
Yeah, this is interesting. It's not a virus, not bacteria. It's a complex prion.
Ah, prions, like mad cow disease, but different.
Exactly like that. In principle, a prion is basically a rogue protein misfolded, and it forces other normal proteins of the same type to misfold too. They're incredibly tough, hard to destroy, and they just corrupt biological systems from the inside out.
And the research focus isn't on fighting it, but stopping it from ever being made again.
Precisely. They have samples, yes, in these G2 sites. Yeah. But the main thrust of the highly classified research is prevention. How do we make sure nobody ever accidentally or deliberately cooks up something like this again?
Which leads us to why it's so feared. The file uses absolute terms here. Yeah. 2 stats that just jump off the page. 100% infectiousness and 100% lethality.
It's statistically perfect in the worst possible way. If you're exposed, you will get infected. And unless there's a very specific intervention, which we'll get to, you will die. No known natural immunity exists. Period.
Okay, transmission. This must be key to containment. How does it actually spread? Does it hang in the air?
Thankfully, no. The source is very clear. It's not airborne. It's also not waterborne.
That's something, at least.
It is. Transmission needs direct contact. Exposed mucous membranes, eyes, nose, mouth, or contact with any bodily fluid from someone infected. Blood, saliva, you name it.
So it needs a breach, a physical transfer. That gives containment a fighting chance. But if that breach does happen, the timeline is brutal.
Incredibly fast. Symptoms show up in 3 hours or less after exposure.
3 hours? Wow, that's barely time to realize what's happening. What did the first symptoms look like?
It starts looking like a really bad flu. High fever, aches, pretty standard stuff initially, but then it shifts fast.
How so?
Severe dementia. We're talking profound, noticeable cognitive breakdown setting in quickly after the flu-like phase.
And how long from that point, the dementia until...
Coma onset happens about 20 hours after the first symptoms, which means it's only around 12 hours after the dementia becomes obvious.
Just half a day from severe confusion to coma.
And the sources consider coma onset to be effectively the onset of death. It's incredibly compressed and horrifyingly efficient.
Okay, so it kills you fast. But the real zombie aspect, the reason for the nickname, comes after that point, doesn't it? Let's talk about what the prion does to the body physiologically. So what that makes the infected such a persistent threat?
Right, this is where it gets really counterintuitive. The prion causes sporadic cell death, necrosis. Parts of the body start to look like they have gangrene. But, and this is the crucial part, the tissue that survives becomes incredibly resilient, almost superpowered in a grim way.
So parts are dying, but other parts get tougher. How does that work?
It seems to center on the blood. Red blood cells change radically. They become hyper-efficient at storing oxygen. Much, much better than normal.
Okay, more oxygen storage.
But paradoxically, this makes the blood way thicker, more viscous. So blood flow actually slows down.
Slower blood flow gives more endurance and strength. That sounds completely backward.
It does, until you think about what the body's prioritizing. It's not worried about thinking or complex tasks anymore. It's optimizing for sheer persistence. Slow, steady energy burn. Massive oxygen reserves mean it can keep muscles going for a long, long time, even with slow circulation. It's built for endurance, not speed.
And the nerves and muscles, they just keep going even after organs fail.
For several hours, yes. Even after what we'd consider catastrophic organ failure, the basic motor functions and nervous system responses remain active. The body becomes this biomechanical puppet driven by the prion long after the person is gone.
And I recall reading something truly disturbing about how long they can persist.
Yeah.
That low metabolism state.
Ah, yes. It drops to incredibly low levels. This allows an infected subject to survive potentially for over 10 years without any nutrition.
10 years.
10 years, a decade-long threat, just walking around needing nothing.
Combine that with the thick blood you mentioned, I assume that makes them hard to physically stop.
Extremely. That slow, viscous blood means injuries that would normally cause massive bleeding gunshots, deep cuts, punctures. They result in negligible blood loss. They don't really bleed out.
So standard trauma doesn't work well?
Not nearly as well. They're resistant because the systems for shock and bleeding just aren't working the same way.
So if they don't bleed out, survive organ failure, how do you reliably neutralize one?
The sources are unanimous on this. Significant cranial trauma. You have to destroy the brain, stop the central processor, basically. That's the only sure way.
Okay, let's talk behavior. The brain's clearly compromised. What's left? What can they actually do?
Cognitive function, learned behaviors, fine motor skills, they're all severely degraded, erratic. Movement is often clumsy, stiff. Interestingly, the file notes that infected animals tend to suffer even more severe brain decay and usually just become inactive.
But humans retain enough function to be mobile threats. What kinds of actions are they capable of?
Very basic stuff. Standing, walking, sort of balancing, biting, grabbing, crawling if they have to. Their actions seem purely instinctual.
Driven by what?
Senses. They move towards sights, sounds, smells, anything they associate with living humans. And if they make physical contact, the drive is singular. Attempt to ingest the living human. That's it. Simple, relentless.
Before we get to a really crucial addendum in this file, let's touch on where this thing might have come from. The file suggests not Earth.
Yeah, the hypothesis presented is that SCP-008 likely didn't form naturally here. The reasoning is that something this effective, this resilient, if it had evolved naturally, it probably would have completely dominated or altered the ecosystem long ago. Its profile feels alien to our biology.
An unnatural introduction. That adds another layer. And speaking of context, there's a historical note, isn't there, about the USSR?
Right. Back in 1959, not long after it was properly identified, there was actually a brief collaborative effort between, well, the Foundation's predecessors, presumably, and the USSR.
Cooperating on this.
Apparently. The goal was specific.
Yeah.
Locate all the G2 storage sites and eliminate the prion globally. A rare moment of Cold War cooperation against a shared existential threat.
What happened? Did it work?
The collaboration ended quickly, and the official status of any SCP-008 samples that might have been held by Russia after that point listed as unknown. So, bit of a historical black box there. Add some uncertainty.
Okay, so we have this incredibly lethal, resilient, possibly alien prion, containment protocols that demand total destruction, a history of fragmented international effort. And then, buried in addendum 0081, something completely contradictory.
The ultimate curveball.
A cure. After everything we've discussed, 100% lethal, 20-hour death clock, mandatory incineration, the file notes a definitive cure exists.
It's a massive paradox, isn't it? All the protocols are built on the idea that infection is an irreversible death sentence requiring extreme measures. And yet, somewhere else in the system, they know how to fix it.
So what is this cure? How effective is it?
The addendum names SCP-500. Listeners familiar with the broader catalog might recognize that designation.
The panacea.
Exactly. SCP-500 is documented as being able to completely cure SCP-008 infection. And crucially, it works even in the advanced stages of the disease. It completely negates the 100% lethality if it can be administered.
Which brings us back to the protocols. The risk of it spreading is considered so high, they'd rather destroy the entire facility, personnel and all.
Right.
Even knowing a cure like SCP-500 is out there, that speaks volumes about how volatile they believe 008 is.
It does. The operational assumption has to be that if containment is breached, you'll never have the chance to safely deploy SCP-500 anyway. The situation would escalate too fast, so destruction becomes the only perceived viable option. Containment failure equals annihilation. Full stop.
So wrapping this up, we have this complex prion, maybe not from Earth. It's perfectly infectious, perfectly lethal. It rewires the body into a super resilient, low metabolism survival machine that can last a decade needing nothing.
A machine focused only on finding and consuming living humans.
Containment is absolute. 8 hours of silence means total destruction. And yet, SCP-500 exists, a complete cure even for late-stage infection.
It's this wild mix of extreme biology, extreme institutional reaction, and a known solution that's deemed too risky to factor into emergency plans. The threat assessment just completely overshadows the cure's existence in a crisis.
Which leads us to our final thought for you, the listener. Think about the context. This thing is complex, possibly unnatural. There was that brief moment of international cooperation back in '59 to get rid of it.
Right.
So, given all that, what does the continued existence of SCP-008 under these incredibly high-stakes, almost paranoid containment measures suggest about our ability, or maybe our willingness, to truly achieve lasting, effective global cooperation on biosecurity threats, especially ones that might not have originated here?
Something to definitely ponder. What does it say about trust and shared risk on that kind of scale?